So we're in the library, but it's not just one library. It's a bunch of libraries here at the House of the Temple. And historian Chris Ruli is going to tell us about the major collections and the different libraries that are in this one library. So it's a library of libraries.
It's a library of libraries. I like that.
Okay. Welcome to the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry channel. I'm Maynard Edwards, 33rd degree, along with historian and author Chris Ruli, 32nd degree, K.C.C.H. This is the reading room. This is where this has always been open to the public since the very earliest days, even before the House of the Temple was in this location.
More than 100-something years, 125 perhaps.
People can come in and do research and hang out and work, and people often do.
One of the questions we often get on the YouTube or videos is, tell us more about the library. We want to learn more. And then there's also different parts to the library. So I think this video, we're going to try to cover a lot of the bases. So rather than going to every collection, because the library is consisted of many different donations of books, I figured let's hit the top 4. So I think you got to start with Albert Pike, right? Half or close to half of the books that you see here are part of the Albert Pike collection. And it's rows and rows and rows, and it covers different topics. So Pike was interested in everything and anything. It wasn't just masonry, it was history, philosophy, art. He has a whole section on, Near East Asian civilizations. I mean, he goes into a wide breadth. And one of the great parts is he spent his own money, book binding, organizing it, cleaning it up. And then when he died, he gifted that to the Spring Council. And so there's gorgeous photographs, even before we moved to the House of the Temple, of the original House of the Temple down closer to the DC City Hall, where it was just his entire collection for a very long part of the history of the Spring Council.
These books up here that are sort of behind us, are these part of that Pike collection?
Yes, that's right. That's right. There are literally thousands of books.
What are the ongoing preservation efforts like? I mean, I guess we have to decide based on the importance of a particular text.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. There are parts of the collection that are, I would call, the most important, or the special collections.
And that's important to us or important to the world, or
both?
All the
both.
above?
There are rare artifact books. There are unique books that have a very low print rate, and those are some of the items that Art de Hoyos, illustrious Art de Hoyos, or Larissa Watkins will have in a separate section that we're trying to preserve. There are obviously ongoing efforts. So if you tour the House of the Temple, you'll see our librarian Larissa work on cleaning, trying to preserve, bind. You'll notice that some of them are bound in white, linen or white tape to just try to keep them alive.
Is it cataloged, or do we know? I mean, it seems like there's so many.
Yeah, all of these things are online. So there's a catalog on our website. So you can go through and find a book. You can find it by topic. You can find it by the actual book. And then we'll try to help you find that book here at the library.
Now, yes, that doesn't mean that it's digitized, that you can go and read it. That's not the case.
That's right.
That you can find if the book exists in our collection.
That's right.
And then visit and take a look at it.
That's right. Now, the second major collection was actually the second collection that the Spring Council received, which is the Leroy Taylor collection, Dr. Leroy Taylor. That Taylor collection is right behind you. That's the one that we're seeing right behind us right now. Taylor was a DC Scottish Rite Mason. He was a physician. In fact, he didn't really practice a lot of medicine. He was more of a pharmacist, but he got his medical degree, and he was a close associate of Albert Pike. Just like Pike, when Taylor died, he donated his entire multi-thousand book collection to the House of the Temple. And so this is more on esoteric. There's a lot of esoteric stuff from Taylor. Taylor was interested in, different religions, esoteric groups, organizations, associations. And so that's what you see here in the Taylor collection. A very interesting collection.
So the reading room itself, a mixture of Pike, Taylor, and then there's a whole bunch of Lincoln stuff over there.
Yes.
And Lincoln, not a Mason, so it seems a little bit of an odd juxtaposition.
That's right. So Dr. Carman, last name was Carman, he was a physician, and we have his collection. So in 1932, the House of the Temple got his collection of Lincoln stuff. Now these are pamphlets, books, histories. I mean, just like another collection we'll talk about later on, the Burns collection, it was a interested collector who was interested in one topic, this one being Lincoln. And so he had books and pamphlets and little letters and correspondences associated to Lincoln, and we compiled them and he placed them here in the library.
You did mention the Burns collection. Now that is on a whole separate floor in a whole separate room off by itself. It's very big.
Yes, and that's William R. Smith, which is an awesome story. William R. Smith was a gardener. At one point, he was a gardener at the White House, but then he moved over to the U.S. Botanical Garden. He effectively started and kept the United States Botanical Garden. He was a fanatic. He was obsessed with Robert Burns, Scottish Freemason. He himself was Scottish. And so he collected a collection of anything related to Robert Burns, his books, his poems, pamphlets, letters, diaries, anything associated to Robert Burns. When he died, the collection grew so large that he, in his will, entrusted through his great friend Andrew Carnegie, the big, titan of industry. They actually became friends before his death because they had a mutual interest with Burns. And so Carnegie often would buy rare manuscripts and rare books and give them to the collection in order to help Smith out. Keep the collection going. And so what did Smith do? Well, when he died, he said, I want a collection, a board of trustees to effectively manage the books. And so in 1912, that board met for the first time after he died, and they were trying to figure out where to place the collection. They went to the Library of Congress, and basically the Library of Congress said, well, we cannot keep this collection together. It's too large, and we're quite frankly not interested in keeping the entire collection together. So Carnegie and other, sort of titans of Scottish American, literary society basically try to figure out, okay, well, if we can't go there, where do we go? Well, wait a minute, 1912, in a couple of years, this new House of the Temple is going to be built. And so they basically engaged with the Grand Commander at the time, Richardson, and said, well, we're interested in having this collection, but we don't know where to place it. Richardson said, that's great. We need, we have the space. Robert Burns was a Freemason.
Got to put something in here.
Yeah, got to put something in here. We certainly have the space to do it, because at that time it was Taylor's collection, Albert Pike's collection. And so what they decided to do was, okay, great, we've got the room. We'll keep it together. We'll use it as a way of respecting Burns's history, as well as making sure that we recognize and celebrate the fact that he's a Freemason. And in fact, we cover it in one of the editions of Amicus. So if you're really interested in that story, learn that out.
And Amicus, we should say, is basically our library's newsletter.
That's right.
We'll put the sign-up link for that on the screen and in the links below. All right, so the last big collection, I'm guessing the Overflow?
So the Overflow is not necessarily collection. It is the overflow of the books that you see here.
Okay, so stuff that's not on display.
So we lie to you when you come do your tour. We say, look at all this collection. Here it is. Isn't it great? But then what we don't tell you is there's an entire section downstairs. So I think we should perhaps go downstairs and talk a little bit about and show people a little bit what that overflow room looks like.
Let's do it. So this is the Overflow collection, and it's obviously a little noisy down here because some of the ventilation for the building runs through the room. What are we looking at besides a lot of old books? I mean, these are older books.
These are older books, yeah, but what we're actually seeing is, so this entire section and the next stack over are Albert Pike's collections, and you'll notice that because Pike's has this blue marker here, and so if you're in the House of the Temple and you're looking for books, you'll notice, and this is, what is this on? This is just an old history, but I love, if you can see the detail on this, and perhaps we'll show it later. Here's Albert Pike bound London, and this
he bound that one himself.
1843. Pretty cool.
In terms of research and things of that nature, someone looks into the library, these are all cataloged as well, and they want to research something. How does that process happen? Because I think that's the question a lot of researchers and historians, even novice historians, want to know, how do we make that leap?
First and foremost, go to our Scottish Rite website, go to the library section, and you'll find access to the digital catalog. Go into the catalog, and then what you're looking for is type in a keyword that you're interested in, you want to research. Once you find a couple books that you're interested in, reach out to Larissa and team at the library. They will then go through and try to find that book for you. So let's say you're coming in on a Wednesday or a Thursday and you're interested. Let us know at least a week beforehand. Certainly more than that if you can. So go to the catalog, find out those numbers that we need to find the catalog book, and then we'll try to pull it for you.
Of the collections, is there one that is sort of your favorite as a historian? I know you lean more towards American and specifically Washington, D.C. history is one of your main points of interest, but, Pike was everywhere.
Yeah, I sort of like Pike's interest in the Far East Asian, at that time he considered it Far East Asian studies. So a lot of things associated to India, China, Japan. I'm just fascinated by what he thought was interesting about those cultures, what he pulled in. So go ahead. Yeah, I'm sure you'll find something really interesting. Oh, so that's
Nature and life, Egypt's place in universal history.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, yeah.
There's a lot.
As you said, history of India.
History of India, yeah.
You know, so here's poetry of the Mayans.
Poetry of the
Magyars. Who are the Magyars?
Magyars. Open it up. Let's find out. We're doing it live.
Poetry of the Magyars.
A literature of Hungary and Transylvania.
No way. That's so. There's some Dracula poetry right in here, probably.
I think we found our next video for Halloween.
This is also not this exact space, but about 20 feet that way.
Yes.
Where the Lost Media Archive is, where we've got records and we've got films and we've got tapes, and that we're cataloging as part of our Lost Media Archive, and you can find out more about that at the link above. But, well, Chris, thank you for a tour of the libraries within the library.
Yeah.
It is really cool and extraordinary spaces, and really we're encouraging researchers to check out that library catalog, and there's discoveries waiting to be made.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the great things about it is go to the catalog, pick a topic, find a book, and just take a look at the book. You might find something interesting. You might find a research paper out of that.
Brother Chris, thank you. Thank you for watching. I'm Maynard Edwards, 33rd degree. That's Chris Ruli, author and historian, 32nd degree K.C.C.H. Thanks for watching.